I made it all safe and sound to Rockport, so I'm going to go out and shoot a sunset. Sunsets are a little more challenging down here because the Texas coast is mainly facing towards the east, so most of the water's that way, and interesting things in the foreground are easier to find in that direction. But I'm going to go out to Howard Myrph Park here in Rockport. It's got some water that faces towards the west, and some beautiful, beautiful sunsets there. But there's not a lot of interesting foreground to shoot. There's hardly anything in the foreground. Mainly just some leading lines you can put in there. But the tide is so high, I don't even know if there's going to be any leading lines. But I'm going to check it out and see if I want to shoot there tonight. Still got a little time. But also I wanted to share with y'all, I guess, a couple of the apps that I use. Main ones I use. One of them is called SunCalc, and it's a free app. You can just download it to your phone. And SunCalc, what it does is kind of like, it's basically like a compass, and it'll show you exactly where the sun is going to rise, and also where it's going to set, wherever you're standing, and it'll show you right where it's coming, so you can plan your shoots. And if you go out and do some scouting during the day, it's a great app to use. You can really plan your shoots a lot better with it. But anyway, there's a few other apps like that too, but I really like this one. And then another one that's just called Magic Hour, and it just counts down to the next magic hour, or the next sunset. But yeah, those two apps, SunCalc and Magic Hour, both free apps. So check them out and see if you can use those. Okay, I'm going to go check out this Murph Park and see what it looks like. Well, right now, pretty much just a waiting game. Wait for the sun to go down closer to the horizon. So, we'll just sit and wait. Okay, the sun's gone down a little bit and starting to hit that horizon. But I've got my leading lines here, kind of leading off to the left, and there's a bunch of ripples on the water, and I don't like that, so I want it to be as smooth as possible. So what I'm going to do is use actually right now at this point in time, I'm going to use a 10-stop ND filter and a ND graduated soft grad, and I'm shooting in manual, and without the filters I think I was getting like a 1/30th of a second, and I'm shooting at f/16 at ISO 64. So the only way to go slower is to put on a neutral density filter, so that's what I've done, and this gets me down to about a minute, so that should be good to smooth all that out and give me a good exposure. We'll see what happens. Okay, that looks pretty good. I am gonna have to take off that 10 stop now that the sun's going down more. I was only able to get off like 2 shots. The histogram looks good. I'm shooting in RAW, so this should process really nicely. And so I'm going to take that ND filter off and just use my ND grad filter, and Should be getting some real good color here in a few minutes. Okay, now I have only about a 2-second exposure to f/16, so that'll smooth out the water a little bit, but it's not going to be a whole lot, but it'll help. Well, I looked off to the side, it looks a little more interesting away from the sunset, and I'm getting about a 6-second exposure here, so it should smooth the water out pretty good. Always need to kind of look around behind you and stuff during these sunsets. You never know what you're going to see. A lot of times it looks better on the back side of the sunset than it does the actual front of the sunset. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. It's got a nice reflection, so that kind of adds some interest to the foreground. Otherwise it would be pretty plain. It's not award-winning, but it's all right. Still a lot of fun. Now, one thing I should say is I'm always kind of exposing to the right a little bit. It's much better to bring down the highlights than it is to start boosting up the shadows so much. Although I don't get very much noise. I'm using the Nikon D810, and I can boost the shadows up pretty good, and it doesn't do too much noise. But I always like to shoot it higher, the histogram a little bit to the right, so that the highlights, I can bring those down if I need to. That way it keeps the noise at a very minimum, instead of shooting too far to the left and having to pull up the shadows. So we'll just give it a few more minutes and let the sun go down a little more and see if something else happens. Well, that was fun. Wasn't a real exciting sunset, but it was still all right. I know a lot of people don't use ND grad filters, but I still like using them. I like to really get things as much as I can in the camera instead of processing it in Photoshop. But there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I just like to do it in the camera as much as possible. Yeah, just I like to, you know, those slow shutter speeds to really make that water look glassy is what I really like to do. So, you know, if you have to use a ND grad filter to do that, to get that low shutter speed, whatever you need to do, that really makes a lot of difference, I think, in the photograph. So, yeah, these kind of that surreal look, you know, not much in the foreground, just a little bit of shoreline, but I don't think you'll see any of these photos in popular photography anytime soon, but that's all right. It's all good. So anyway, okay, well, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and on to the next.